Driving around this town of Yukon, you can see there's police officers everywhere. In fact, put your camera down, put your camera down. Police right there. You can see this town is, it is wild. I mean, all the towns we've been to so far here in Xinjiang, I would say that this one is the most active.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kashi.
This around me is the old Silk Road city of Kashgar, with more than 2,000 years of history. Here and all throughout the southern region of Xinjiang, the population is largely Muslim, home of the ethnic group, the Uyghurs, who have more in common with the people of Central Asia and Turkey than they do with their fellow Chinese citizens to the east. The Uyghur homeland happens to be a vital region for Beijing, rich in resources and a crossroad for trade. Distrust between the Uyghurs and Beijing has given an opening to violence. This is where China says it is fighting a war against terrorism. That is because of the growing number of attacks here and around the rest of China in the past several years, all of which Beijing blames on groups of radicalized Uyghurs. The most brazen attack caught on security cameras is this. On October 28, 2013, at Beijing's Tiananmen Square, a car driven by Uyghurs plows into a crowd, then bursting into flames. A Uyghur extremist group from outside China claimed responsibility for the deadly symbolic act striking at the heart of Chinese power, right under Mao's portrait. Years of violence in Xinjiang had reached Beijing's doorstep. Adding to Chinese fears, a handful of Uyghur exiles have also found their way out of the country, joining ISIS. A propaganda video released last year showed an 80-year-old former imam who allegedly fled Xinjiang to take up arms in Syria. The video also featured young Uyghur school children shouting threats to the Chinese government. Back home, the Chinese response has been to clamp down even harder, which begs the question, is the surge in violence driven by local grievances among Uyghurs, or was it the influence of extremist groups outside China's borders? There are no easy answers, but a good place to begin is to see the region and meet the people for ourselves. We traveled to the Tarim Basin in southern Xinjiang, the Uyghur heartland, a region that borders Central Asia, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, a region vital to Beijing's vision of a new trade and commerce Silk Road. Our journey will take us from Kashgar to China's western border and then deeper to the edge of the Taklamakan Desert, where some of the most violent clashes have occurred. So who are the Uyghurs? There are 10 million Uyghurs in China, and they are one of 56 recognized ethnic groups. 80% of the Uyghur population live here in the Tarim Basin. Government policies have been encouraging the Han Chinese, the majority in the rest of China, to move west in large numbers. And now the Uyghurs only make up 45% of Xinjiang's population. Their lives are centered around agriculture and livestock. Whoa, right behind you. Panic of camels. Oh. Also trade, food, and their faith. So you can see a lot of growth here. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, if you ask the people around here, it's a very difficult question. It's absolutely jammed. How's President Xi? You're supposed to say he's good, huh?
Very good.
The Chinese government goes out of its way to promote ethnic unity. increasingly with song and dance. Apparently that was just a big welcoming event, somehow for the officials from the Chinese government, we were told. So that's why they're having these ceremonies, try to welcome the officials from Beijing. So you can see them now driving away. There is frustration here. Towns are increasingly separated into Uyghurs and Han. The economic disparity between them is a growing source of tension. Take language, for instance. As with the rest of the country, Mandarin is essential for the best-paying jobs. 会说中文？中文不会啊 ，Can't speak Chinese。说汉语吗？啊？你会说汉语吗？中文？不会。Anybody? 你会说？啊，对，在这儿有很多的人会说汉语，还是？地方也不多。不多，不多。Not many speak Chinese. Without Mandarin, many Uyghurs just can't compete with the Han, and some feel the language is being forced on them by Beijing. We met this Han businessman from outside Beijing here in Xinjiang, manufacturing desks and chairs for Uyghur school children. So these are all for the students. They made 70,000 of these this year, all for Xinjiang. But he admits openly that he values one Uyghur worker to half a Han. Why? They are incompetent, he says. On top of this, the Uyghurs feel their culture is being controlled by the government because of terrorist fears. The town of Yangasar is famous for their traditional long, ornate knives. Because of the recent attacks, Uyghur knife makers cannot make knives as long as they used to, fearing that they will be used as deadly weapons. No more, you can't get them that big anymore. You can see now that she's making these knives a lot shorter than they used to. Those are now illegal to make them this big. The growing security presence is an increasing sore spot. Young Uyghur men are subject to long, random searches. And then there is religion. The state has been distributing anti-extremist propaganda around the region. So now we're being told that in July, almost every house in this town has gotten this poster warning them to stay away from the terrorists. What the government warns is that these are the telltale signs of extremism. They claim that extremists tell women to cover their entire face just to prove that they are true Muslims. If someone tells you that joining jihad will give you access to heaven, then that person is an extremist and should be reported to the authorities. However, even more moderate Islamic expressions of faith are being curtailed. It is illegal for men under 60 to grow beards. Headscarves for women are discouraged. Islam cannot be taught at schools, and men under 18 cannot pray at mosques. China has serious concerns about extremism pouring in from its western border. So we decided to drive there on the historical, ancient Silk Road. So you should know that we're actually forced to get out of our vehicles and not go inside the gas station. You see it's surrounded by wires. Everybody else has to get out of their vehicles, not just us. In fact, the guy right there by the gate writes down all the license numbers for the cars as they wait outside. Interesting. Look at this. This is what's going on. China is building a brand new rail link connecting their country to those right beyond the mountain. You can see that China is building a lot, spent billions of dollars because this is going to be a major trade region for them. But they've also got growing fears about terrorism, so they really need stability. Just look at the blue sky. This is China? All right, so we just walked through security. Just walked through a check stop. There's one guy up at the very top. There's a guard up on the second floor, a guy checking on the cars when they go by. And of course we had to go through and check through with all of our cards. So hopefully we'll make it even further. Anyway, that's the second checkpoint so far as we're heading through the valley here. We'll move on. So there's the Karakoram Highway. It's heading right to Pakistan, so we're gonna get in the car again. There's nobody here. Look at this. So let's see what it's like to live in this part of the country. So now as we get closer and closer to the Afghanistan border, you can see absolutely no traffic. Now, Afghanistan has been asking China to open up the Wakhan Pass, which is right over there, because they want to have much more trade to help their country. But China has been resisting it because they're afraid that there might be more terrorists coming through into their own country. So it's a gorgeous place. Let's go in the car and head towards the Pakistan border. So the pass that these trucks are heading into Pakistan is the highest paved road going through from one country to another in the entire world. There's a gate. There's the gate. There's going to be a checkpoint. Where? Police.
Police.
Just tell them we're just going to go on. Just tell them we just want to go and look. Just turn back. Are you concerned at all about terrorists coming here? The government said they're afraid of terrorists coming over. He says that he can't answer that question because it could create panic. Okay, 下次再见. We turned back to Kashgar and then headed east towards the site of one of the deadliest incidents in recent years. So we've driven all day from Kashgar to here, and this is Yakhan, which is one of the most tragic towns, at least just outside of this town. The night of July 28th, 2014, violent clashes engulfed several villages on the outskirts of Yakhan after a break-in to a local police station. The official death toll stands at 96, with 35 Han Chinese killed, and police claim they gunned down 59 suspected terrorists that night. That conflict is still somewhat of a mystery in terms of its cause, but that's one thing we're going to look into. So the police, you can see, are blocking the street almost everywhere we go. I would say we've seen about 6 or 7 of these check stops just along the street of this town of Yakhan. Overseas, Uyghur activists, however, claim that the death toll was much higher, calling it a massacre. You can see what this city looks like. It is obviously filled with life, but given the fact that at least 100, maybe even 1,000 people were killed not far away in the suburb, what is it that's causing this? Is it a regional grievance, or is it terrorism, as the government always puts it? Residents here seem to know about the incident, but afraid to talk about it. Did it change your life at all? Was it a big problem?
每个人都有影响。什么影响？ 哎呦，说不清就很紧张。
Do you know what happened there exactly? Do you know exactly what happened?
你知道发生了什么事儿吗？
不知道。
Doesn't want to talk about it. So most of the people are telling us they know that something happened, but they don't want to talk about the details. After 5 days on the road, the Xinjiang authorities caught up with us. Let's go quick. Who are they? Are they?
It's government.
They are government.
They are government.
Where are they? Where did they go? In that car?
No, they're in that sedan.
Yeah, they're right there. And now they're escorting us around. So now I'm pretending to do a selfie because the authorities have now pulled us over in the car, asked us questions. So clearly we are being followed. In fact, we found out information that they had been following us for the last day and a half. So clearly they knew where we were. They've got all of our records, so they know who we are. Anyway, that's what this is. I'm not really doing a selfie, pretending I am, but they're following us now and probably for the rest of this trip. This might be the end of the story. So after about 2 hours, they finally just turned off into another exit and are not following us right now. No idea if they've called someone else up here to now follow us. What is obvious in Xinjiang is that the Chinese believe that their stakes in the region are high. So high that the movement of journalists are controlled, even though China's laws officially allow us to travel there freely. The government certainly wants to open the borders for trade, but stop the flow of possible terrorists that they believe could be at their doorsteps. And caught in the middle, a group of people bristling in silence. In a place where cycles of mistrust and violence provides no easy answers.